Hello, my name is Maiko the Mighty, and thank you for watching my video. Today, I'm doing a video that harkens back to a feature of Guild Wars 1. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to showcase an example of how Guild Wars 1 allowed you to play on your own, and could we see some of this content come into Guild Wars 2. So in Guild Wars 1, for example, you see all these my characters here. We're going to go into this character, he's in Lion's Arch. Basically, you had parties, much as you do in Guild Wars 2. For example, dungeons, you're limited to 5, or you're limited to 5 party members no matter what. Obviously, you have squads and such in GW2. But in Guild Wars 1, you would be limited to parties. And this, for example, over here, you can see it's 1 out of 6. However, at the low end areas, you'd start off and you'd have 4 people maximum in your party. When you'd get to the end, further end-game content, so for example, the Fire Island chain, which you can see this character's not done much in Ascalon because he's a Canthan player, or character, and you get to this end, and you'd have 8 players, and then if you went into Cantha, you would actually get, you could actually have up to 12 players in your party. For example, the Deep, and that was a special mission, and there was likewise one for Ergo's Warren for the Kurziks. So here we are, and we were in one of the cities. So let's pop over to Delesio Seaboard. This is one of the missions, much like you have in your personal story. So now I'm in 2016. Let's see, I want to play the mission. You know, you can enter the mission, but I've only got one person in my party. It's just me. But there are nobody else. There's no other human players in the zone. So what do? Do I wait? Or, you know, am I ever going to be able to do this? Well, they allowed you to have henchmen. This was it from Prophecies, and in Factions, you would have henchmen. So in Factions, you actually had different henchmen. And these were AI characters that you could pick and you could add to them. You couldn't do anything about them. You couldn't really control them. They would just follow you around and do their own thing. So you'd have a healer, you'd have like a mesmer there, one warrior, a necromancer, an elementalist ranger, and another warrior. So you'd have these characters here, and they would basically just follow you around and, you know, give you a bit of a hand. And that was the first, you know, the case for Prophecies and for Factions. However, when they released Nightfall, they introduced a new mechanic to the game, which, bear in mind, it came only 18 months after the original launch of Prophecy, so they really had and got this hero system down pretty well. So the hero system is fully customizable heroes that you can add to your party, that you can change their gear, you can change their skill set, and this fundamentally changed the way this game worked. It allowed players to solo things and just go in on their own, and really, in my opinion, made Guild Wars 1 a phenomenal game that really took things, you know, you could spend ages just customizing a few characters. So you can change their second profession, you can change their gear. You can see we've got a couple of monks here, and then what you do, you go to your skills, and then you'd see here you've got all the skills that you can do. You can even equip them, so you press your inventory and then you can change their gear. So you'd see, as you can see, I've got a birthday voucher. But look, you can actually change their weapons. Didn't really do much here, but look, I gave this one like a rare weapon and upgraded some of their armor, because you can see there that I've actually modified them, like minor marksmanship, expertise. This is how the rune system worked in Guild Wars 1. And so you'd have different, you know, characters that were able to accompany you. Excuse me. And yeah, so you'd be able to enter the mission and you'd be able to go along and do that yourself. Not only that, if we actually, I'll go out the instance, because actually let's just enter the mission just to show you. So this was how the personal story worked. You'd obviously have easy mode and hard mode. That was something that came in a little bit later as well. But then, yeah, so you've got these heroes and they're basically doing their own thing. However, you can actually order up to 3 of your characters or all of the characters to go anywhere you like. So you can see I can put them there. I can actually make them guards, avoid combat, or just, you know, fight, and they'll go off being aggressive. So you've got lots of different things. You can select, you can make them focus a particular target. You can actually make them do boons. So for example, this character doesn't do, while we're guarding, put any spirits down, but you can collect and actually do their skills for them and put all these spirits down. So it was a fundamental, really brilliant system having heroes in Guild Wars 1. It really changed the way that the game worked and really allowed you to do a lot of terrific things. You'll see here, I have no idea what any of these skills are. We've got Chaos Storm. I'm not a big fan of the Mesmer, but yeah. So there we go. Got Mistrust, and got a natural signet. Yeah. So there we go. This is why it's a lot difficult to play it on your own, because you just get killed and destroyed really easily. So this is the hero system. So why did I say that we could actually see this potentially in Guild Wars 2? Well, the way that obviously Guild Wars 2 works is very limited on instant combat. We don't see too much instant combat, mainly in the personal story. You look at, for example, the Heart of Thorns story mode. What did we see in Heart of Thorns? Well, we saw a lot of the personal story, and you'd actually do that in instance. But while that was going on, you'd have the meta event like the Mouth of Modromoth go on, and that would allow you to basically, that was obviously PvE content, but was for out in the world. It wasn't your own instance. But could we see the introduction of heroes into GW2? It's an interesting concept. It was something that they did actually discuss when Guild Wars 2 was being developed. They were talking about Guild Wars 2 and what the features were going to be, and they did actually discuss that Guild Wars 2 would have, initially, was going to have this companion system. So you'd have a pet, and it would accompany you around the world, and basically that was going to be the hero system, for example, in much more limited form. However, they decided to go against that, and they completely changed it. And so this is what we ended up with in Guild Wars 2, where they just basically said, right, you're on your own, you've got to party up, and, you could go around the world on your own. But could we, again, we've seen it in limited format, for example, with the Char and your personal story, you have your warband. It'd be nice if we could actually get your warband and go on do missions. You could customize your warband so that for certain instance missions that require a lot of players, rather than actually getting other character players, maybe you can actually, I'm not even going to bother attacking, I'll just let my heroes do the work. This is potentially what we could see, getting a load of different AI characters that you could actually let do the work for you, or actually help you out, and you could customize them how you wanted. Is that something that people are going to be of interest? Is that, I know it's a game thing that happened in Guild Wars 1, but they haven't brought it back into Guild Wars 2, but I think that there could be a place for it. And, when I look at Heart of Thorns, I feel one of the disappointing things, admittedly, it was kind of like we had henchmen, because in the final fight, prior to the final fight, we do, like, for example, in the Living World, we have our little crew that we have, Casimir, we have, Marjorie, Timey, etc., Rox and Brian, and that's the crew we go around with. That's our, our warband, or our little group. But, should we be able to customize them how we want? And that's something I feel that could be that could be an exciting thing to go and see. As I said, you can see the different weapons and gear that my characters have. You can even customize the armor as well. Like you can do certain missions and get them special armor so that they don't have that before. And yeah, generally, I find I really enjoyed the hero combat, the hero system. It's something that's not in Guild Wars 2, so those of you who've never played Guild Wars 1, it'd be interesting to see what your opinion on, like, the heroes are. And it's kind of weird actually getting back to the Guild Wars 1 system. Admittedly, not a lot of it was, there are some parts that aren't brilliant, but I actually really found, this is great if you want to go out on content on your own. And why do I say this could be for the future? Well, think about this. This is Guild Wars 1 in 2016, so this is a long time after, Guild Wars 2, after Guild Wars 1 initially launched. And so, of course, there's going to be a few players around. But what about Guild Wars 2 in 10 years' time? Are we going to be able to do world bosses when we only have, like, 3 or 4 people on the map? It's going to be an interesting scenario, and I think further down the line, obviously they expand the world, but it means that certain areas are going to have a lot less people in them because there's more maps to explore and they spread out the player base. So from events, meta events, could they introduce a little buddy system whereby you can actually have heroes in Tyria, in worlds, the open world? Could you, like, for example, the elementalists get the fire elemental? Could you actually create something, a system whereby you actually have the option to take heroes out with you into the open world. It would allow, for example, you to do Tequatl. With very little people. Imagine having just like 10 people trying to do Tequatl. It's pretty much right now going to be impossible. You need like a sort of a good 50 to 80 players to do that. So what happens when we really start struggling for the player base? And, as I said, I'm talking 5-10 years down the line. What are we going to be doing to actually allow this initial combat content to keep being played? And that is where, in my opinion, I think the hero system would actually benefit us. I could see us getting these heroes in Guild Wars 2. Imagine being able to get a load of different characters that we could have and being able to customize them. Obviously, you would want to limit it because you could end up with like 50 players, or with 4 henchmen or 4 heroes, and you'd end up with 200 players on the map. But you could have something whereby if there's a certain amount of human players, one of your heroes, henchmen, whatever you want to call them, actually has to kicked from your party and can't be resummoned until the map population actually goes back down again. So it's just something, again, it's an idea that could be brought in, and it's for that situation later down the line. But I'd be interested to see, do you guys think that this idea could work in GW2 in the future? As I said, right now it's definitely not needed, but could we see this in the future? This is definitely something I feel ArenaNet could potentially go back to. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I felt it was a handy system, and we'll have to see what happens on that front. So this was Guild Wars 1, and as I said, I just wanted to show you the hero system because it was all fully customizable, and it just made life, you could go around and do things on your own. As you see, I have to chase after this NPC here. Yeah, you're just going to keep running and running. But yeah, I felt, a victory token. There we go, I'll take that. But yes, I feel that, Heroes was a great system in Guild Wars 1. I don't think it can be operated in the open world system right now with the volume of players. But when we get 10 years down the line, imagine that we're another 2 expansions. So imagine having another 10 maps or whatever that are all full of players. Where's that going to leave, like, think the Fields of Ruin? That's a pretty quiet map at the best of times. Fireheart Rise, another map that's generally underpopulated. These maps are going to be very, very dead, and trying to do big sort of group content is going to be very, very difficult. And this is where I feel that the hero system could come in. So I'd like to know your thoughts on this, guys. This hero system, if you've never seen it before, what do you think of it? Again, this is where you can change their gear, change their weapons. You see, got a nice purple staff there. You could change their skills. Would you want to see something like this in GW2 when there's limited players, that you actually have, and it would allow you to do this content? Imagine taking on Jormag, and there's 4 of you. It's going to take you ages and ages and ages, but if you had this hero system, you could actually have 4 characters each, so the 4 of you would actually have another 12 players, so you'd have 16 in total, and you'd be actually had a better chance at taking out Jormag. It's just an idea, and it's something that I feel, I wanted to showcase and just show people what the hero system is, and it's also to showcase that Guild Wars 1, you can go and play this game. This is actually really good content. I actually enjoy Guild Wars 1 immensely, and I feel that if you went back and played, it's no coincidence that obviously you can see this is to do with the White Mantle. The White Mantle we're seeing again in Guild Wars 2. You can see there, these are the White Mantle that we actually get to see. And the White Mantle, obviously a big part of the raid right now. But yeah, I feel that you guys, I wanted to do a video on this, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to leave any comments and leave them in the section below, and I'll see you on the next one.